Today on the CTV News at 5.
Are you making any comments today?
No, this time, thank you.
A pregnant suspect in a Vulcan man's murder appears in court. Plus, the public school board accepts the resignation of a trustee guilty of fraud. And the race for the Liberal nomination in Lethbridge East just got interesting. Two high-profile candidates are stepping up.
CTV News with Jackie Scantlebury.
Good afternoon. The 28-year-old expectant mother charged in connection with the murder of Otto Bunty Luce appeared in court today. Bobby Jo Parks appeared in Fort Macleod and asked for a week to hire her lawyer, but she had little else to say.
Are you making any comments today?
No, this time, thank you.
Parks rushed past cameras after her brief court appearance. She is facing one charge of obstruction of justice and resisting arrest. Her boyfriend, Timmy Engel, is behind bars charged with first-degree murder in connection with Luce's death. Luce's daughter was in today's court appearance and said it was more difficult to see one of the accused in person. Earlier this week, Engel, who's in custody, appeared via video link. Still, Lavonda Justinek says she felt it was important to be here.
Yeah, I really wanted them to see that he had a family. So that's my purpose here. I don't hold any grudges against their families per se. They didn't do this. But I wanted her to see me.
Parks will be back in court next Wednesday. Engel will be back in court on February 27th. A 31-year-old Lethbridge man is charged with sexually assaulting two female co-workers. Police say that between 2008 and 2010, Randolph Harold Nicklason inappropriately touched the co-workers. Nicklason was working as a caregiver with a local support services agency at the time, but police say there is no evidence that any of his clients were assaulted. A 21-year-old man has been charged with trafficking after police seized ecstasy and a small amount of crack cocaine at a home in North Lethbridge. A search warrant was executed yesterday at a home in the 2700 block of 7th Avenue North. Police seized about 17 grams of ecstasy in powder form, as well as a number of cell phones, drug paraphernalia, and more than $1,800 in cash. Police say at this point it's not known if the ecstasy contained PMMA, which is linked to a number of overdose deaths in Calgary and BC. 21-year-old Joseph Wayne Northpagan is charged with trafficking and possession of the proceeds of crime. The woman was taken to custody as well, but later released without charges. Well, a Lethbridge public school trustee has resigned only days after pleading guilty to forgery charges. 49-year-old Dennis Wickham has been on leave from the school board since last October after being found guilty of writing unauthorized checks and stealing from the Southern Alberta Football Officials Association. On Monday, he was given a 4-month community sentence for writing checks to himself while president of the Softball Association. The public school board doesn't have the authority to remove Wickham, but during their regular meeting yesterday, trustees did receive and approve his letter of resignation.
The decision of whether to continue was Trustee Wickham's. The circumstances are such that the Municipal Act would not enable the board to take any action other than to allow the trustee to continue if he had so wished. And so Trustee Wickham, however, did make a statement that he did not want his presence to be a distraction to the operations of the district. And so for that, the board was appreciative and did accept his resignation.
The board has decided to finish the term with only 6 trustees, so there won't be a by-election to replace Wickham. Well, was it a very thorough test drive or a stolen vehicle? Police say a couple selling a 2003 Nissan Sentra in Brandon, Manitoba, let a couple take the car for a quick test drive back on January the 14th. Only problem is they never returned. Police recovered the vehicle days later in Medicine Hat. No arrests have been made. And RCMP have been sending out warnings today to truckers because of all those strong winds. Winds are expected to gust up to 100 kilometers per hour well into this evening. Environment Canada has issued a wind warning for Crow's Nest Pass, Pincher Creek, Waterton Lakes National Park, Cardston, Fort Macleod, McGrath, Lethbridge, Tabor, Milk River, Cypress Hills Provincial Park, and Foremost. Warnings for a number of other area communities were lifted this afternoon. Okay, Dory, that wild wind is back for another day, and it's actually going to stick around for several days.
Yeah, we're going to get a little bit of a break tonight. Here in the Lethbridge area, it'll be reducing by about 20 kilometers per hour overnight, but it'll be back with us tomorrow as well, as you said. And I had a question today. Someone said, what constitutes a wind warning? Well, you have to have wind consistent at 80 kilometers per hour. And they said, well, we haven't had gusts to 100, but the potential is gusts for 100. So that's when they instigate a wind warning. So, yeah, the wind's going to be with us for a while. Just get used to it.
Thanks, Dory. Well, despite those wild winds today, logging protesters are holding their ground at Castle Mountain. For 2 weeks, the group has been holding rotating strikes to prevent clear-cut logging in the Castle Special Management Area. And yesterday, they stood in front of a machinery to keep work from starting. Monday night, the province served protesters a final eviction notice, but they say they'll stay put until a court order is given or the RCMP forces them to leave. The group had hoped that Premier Alison Redford would step in, but yesterday, Redford said the logging was part of a sound forest management agreement. Well, 2 months ago, Lethbridge East MLA Bridget Pasteur crossed the floor and joined the Alberta Conservative Party. Now, 2 high-profile candidates have come forward to run for the Liberal Party in Pasteur's constituency. Alderman from Lethbridge, Jeff Carlson, has officially announced that he'll seek the Liberal nomination in Lethbridge East. Carlson says he has been considering the move to provincial politics for several years, but started thinking seriously about it 6 months ago. Carlson says the Conservatives seem to have a sense of entitlement and need a wake-up call.
I get a lot of lip service, a lot of smiling and nodding, and a total agreement, and then no change ever occurs. Policy's been set. It's set in the back room by the people who have been there for 40 years, and we need to change those people. We need a new voice, a new set of people up in Edmonton actually listening and working on behalf of Albertans.
Carlson admits the decision wasn't an easy one because it involves leaving a position that he was recently elected to, but says he feels that he can bring the experience he's learned to make a positive difference in provincial politics. Now, the executive director of the Lethbridge Senior Citizen Centre has also stepped forward to seek the Liberal nomination in Lethbridge East. Rob Mayashiro made the announcement this morning. Mayashiro says he has invested 30 years in helping people with the Seniors Organization, the Rehabilitation Society, and as a child and youth worker. He's also been involved with running several large sports organizations. Mayashiro says he expects some people are upset with Pasteur for switching parties, while others will still support her.
I think what we have to do as the candidates running for the Liberal nomination is to talk to the people, find out what people want, and try to assuage them to our side of the deal, right? Not just to rely on her record. And as I said about politicians, I think it's time to someone that hasn't been in politics a long time to come in and maybe represent the constituency a little bit differently.
Mayashiro says he's not a politician but considers himself an expert in people. The Liberal nomination meeting for Lethbridge East constituency will be held February the 15th at the Sandman Hotel in Lethbridge. And the Conservatives have an interesting race going in the Little Bow constituency where incumbent MLA Barry McFarland is retiring. Last night, about 50 people turned out to hear from 3 men who were seeking the PC nomination. County Deputy Reeve Henry Dove, former councillor John Kolk, and Coledale Mayor Kim Craig are vying for the nomination. McFarland held the constituency for 20 years, announcing last year that he would not seek the re-election. The nomination vote is scheduled for Saturday from 1 until 8 p.m. Party members will be able to cast their ballots in 6 communities throughout the riding. Métis undergraduate and graduate students can now apply for a new scholarship at the University of Lethbridge. The Métis Nation of Alberta is donating $500,000 to the fund, and another $500,000 will be matched. There are about 100 Métis students currently enrolled at the U of L, and many of them say it can be difficult to get financial assistance for post-secondary. This year, $25,000 will be handed out, 6 $2,500 scholarships to undergraduate students, and one $10,000 award to a graduate student.
The challenge of any post-secondary student is always difficult, which is why scholarships and partnerships such as these are so important. It helps ease that financial burden, which ultimately helps any student make it to the end of their studies.
These kind of scholarships create an opportunity for them to do what they really want to do, which is to get a degree, whether an undergraduate or graduate degree. And I think Christy spoke very heartfelt about the impact on her life. That's quite significant.
The university hopes the scholarship money, as well as increased access and support programs, will help attract more Métis students to the post-secondary. A Lethbridge Middle School has won $75,000. G.S.Lakie School was awarded the money as part of the Aviva Community Fund grant. Lakie is going to use the money to fund a convertible theater and summer arts institute. They're going to build a technical booth on top of the school's dance studio, which can then be used as a theater, concert hall, performance area, and meeting room. School officials say they're overwhelmed by the support from the community, especially those who voted to help them win.
It's a huge difference as we move forward with our vision. You know, it's important that we are able to take things to the next level and expand our programming into the summer and expand what we do as a school and a whole Westside community arts program.
The school will begin working on the renovations in September. And speaking of the arts, Theatre Extra is bringing a Canadian playwright's work to the stage at the University of Lethbridge. Possible Worlds was written by John Mighton and won the Governor General's Award for Drama for its enveloping portrayal of two lovers in the midst of a baffling series of relationships together. The play hits the stage at the David Spinks Theatre on the U of L campus Thursday.
I fell in love with the script when I read it, and I always saw something in my head. And to see it up there is just awesome. It is a sci-fi murder mystery with some romance. So I bet if you talk to a lot of people, they haven't seen much of that on stage. So it's really different in that sense, is that there's a lot of kind of weird stuff going on in the play, and I think it's going to be quite the experience.
The play runs January 26th to the 29th with shows 8 o'clock nightly. Tickets are available at the university box office. In the markets today, the loonie inched closer to parity once again. Here are the closing figures.